Good morning, gentlemen. This is the Crisis to Courage Daily Prayer for Men. It is January the 18th, 2021. Welcome if you are just joining us. We meet every single day, 8 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And this is a prayer to lift and strengthen and fortify you in days where there is so much unpredictability in every single direction. Possibly there's always been this, but I believe that this is an evil time, and evil men and imposters are deceived and deceiving, and it's becoming even worse. You know, I was watching a television show from, I don't know what the station was, at my friend's home, and it was Little House on the Prairie. And if you are unfamiliar, it's kind of this story about this farm family and the difficulties that arise. And I just was noticing the purity of that compared to even the commercials on TV. Like, because I don't have a TV, because I don't own a TV, and I'm not encouraging you to do that. I made that decision a while back. I remember how exhausted I was just watching it. You know, there would be commercials about the vaccine, and there would be commercials about buy this and buy that. It was almost like everything was demand, and then the news would come on. I just don't know how people do that every single day. I would be absolutely exhausted. And my friend Lonnie, he basically gave a charge to the people that were in his group yesterday. I think it's his pastoral group. And he said, how much time do you spend in the Bible? And he said, the average person spends 1 minute a day, but they spend hours consuming news content and everything like that. And I thought, no wonder what is evil looks good, and vice versa. And maybe back in the time of Elijah and Ahab, there was some form of this. You know, there were actual physical statues, or the kings were so wicked like Ahab was. I'm not sure, but we have to really focus on what we put our energy on, gentlemen. And this is just an opportunity to lift you up, lift you high, encourage you, give you a yearly theme, which, if you're unfamiliar, is I will. And also a daily theme, which we've been on this, let's see, 10, 11, 12, 13 days now. And that is using your masculinity God's way, not the world's way, which is pretty incredible. And we read a psalm because Psalms are about who God is and what he does and his power and his priorities, and acknowledging him. And then we're going to focus on the life of Elijah, how he used his masculinity by walking spiritually, by making God's word his word. Now, during the time of Elijah, you know, the law was given, so they had to follow the law, and they weren't in grace like we were now, and they had the Spirit upon them so he could get understanding spiritually. But we in grace have the Spirit inside of us. So this is Psalm 82. God stands in the congregation of the mighty. Okay, I'm going to read that again. God stands in the congregation of the mighty. So it starts out with God is first. And if you know anything about God, he's all powerful, he's all knowing, he's everywhere present. He's nothing like anything else in this world. Okay, I'm going to read that again. God stands in the congregation of the mighty. He judges among the gods. And in verse 2, that's Elohim, mighty ones, that is the judges. So there's big Elohim and little Elohim. So God is the one that's the biggest. How long will you judge unjustly? Talking about the judges. And show partiality to the wicked. Doesn't it look like now that there's partiality to the wicked, and the wicked is like saying, I'm in your face and this is what I'm going to do, and you're going to jump at a vaccine, and you're going to jump at staying home, and you're going to jump at every governmental decree in the world, and you're going to jump at who's president and who's not president, and you're going to jump. The devil is the one who causes us to jump. Here we go. And show partiality to the wicked. Now, this is what we're supposed to do justice to the afflicted and needy, to defend them. Do justice. Defend the poor and fatherless is the one for defend. I skipped one. Do justice to the afflicted and needy. Deliver the poor and needy. Flee from the hand of the wicked. Now, why? Why do we want to do this? Because wicked people, they do not know, nor do they understand. They walk about in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are unstable. Doesn't that look like now when people are just walking about in wickedness? The Bible said when the wicked rule, the people mourn. But when the righteous rule, the people rejoice. I'm going to read that again. They do not know, nor do they understand. They walk about in darkness. They have no awareness. These people that are consuming news content 24 hours a day, and they're taking their direction from the news media, which is wicked and controlled by X, Y, or Z, they don't know, nor do they understand. They walk about in darkness. All the foundations of the earth are unstable. That's what it says. God did not send anything wicked, nor does he send anything wicked. But when people make choices to choose wickedness, everyone suffers. I'm going to say that again. When God doesn't send evil, he doesn't tempt, he doesn't like evil, but he gave free will choice. And when people choose wickedness, everyone suffers. So the people that said, oh, this doesn't impact me, this doesn't impact me, this doesn't impact me, well, now it's impacting you, and it's all over the world. There's no place that you can go. I was reading in South Africa about all the destruction that's there, and my friend is there, and it just grieved me because that makes me realize all the foundations of the earth are unstable. You know, when you talk to him, you know, he's in South Africa and he doesn't really say anything. You know, he talks about, you know, his wife and his children. Those are the main important things. And he also talks about praying and devotion to God and all those other things. But he doesn't really mention the wickedness that's going on. But when you saw an article that's very clearly written you know that the foundations of the earth are unstable. Okay. I said, you are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High, and you shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. So your life is not going to have the impact it's supposed to have. Arise, O God, judge the earth, for you shall inherit all nations. And this is a great segue into James 5:17, and we pretty much know it like the back of our hand. If you don't know any Bible verse and you've been following these teachings, we've done this verse every day because we're talking about Elijah. Elijah was a man in James 5:17 with a nature like ours, and he prayed earnestly that it would not rain, and it did not rain on the land for 3 years and 6 months. Okay, so he had a point of decision too, and his point of decision was, do I follow God or do I follow man? I'm going to put this in here. Okay. And now we're in 1 Kings 18, verse 19. And we're going to go to 21. And remember, we're kind of talking about that God stands in the congregation. Like there's one main God, right? There's one main God. There is Elohim, and he's always first in our lives. But then there's all these other things pretending to be Elohims. They are pretending to be godly. They're pretending that they worship one true God. But if you look closely, they're really corporations just out to make money and to bring people into bondage. Okay, we are 1 Kings 19:21. Now, remember what's happened is Elijah has now met Ahab. Ahab has accused him of causing all this evil. So if you're being accused of evil when you're not doing evil, you need to stand, just like Elijah. He says, look, I haven't done anything. It's you. By your free will choice, you've brought a lot of evil. You've deceived people. You've led people astray. Stand upon what you believe. Okay, now we're in verse 19 through 21. And now Elijah is telling the people, make a decision. Okay, I will. 19 through 21. Now therefore send and gather all Israel to me on Mount Carmel, the 450 prophets of Baal and the 400 prophets of Asheroth who eat at Jezebel's table. So we've got 850 people, okay, that the people are paying for because the taxes paid for them. The whole entire government is a bunch of evil, false prophets. Doesn't that look like our current climate now? And what happens when this happens? God has got to come on the scene. That means someone has to rise up and invoke God's spiritual power, or people together collectively have to invoke God's spiritual power. But you're going to see one man be tremendously courageous, and that is Elijah. Okay. Now we're versing 20 and 21. So Ahab sent for all the children of Israel and gathered the prophets together on Mount Carmel. Now, why do you think he did this? Like, Elijah's one man. He's got 850 prophets. He figures after the demonic brings down whatever it's going to bring down. Basically there's a challenge, and of course he's going to win because he has 850 people on his side that are wicked doing his same bidding, just like a lot of these people are in the government. They're wicked and they're all working together. They are unified. And the only thing, gentlemen, that breaks up the unification of the devil is God's spirit working in a courageous man or woman. Okay? So of course Ahab says, bring it on. And then after we're done, we'll kill you. We'll cut off your fingers. We'll do whatever we can to you. I'm sure he felt like this is going to be Elijah's outcome and not what actually happened. Okay, 21. And Elijah came to all the people and said, how long will you falter between two opinions? If the Lord is God, remember, if the Lord is God, if he is Elohim, if he is first, he's the first one in the congregation. If you make that choice that he's first, follow him. But if Baal, follow him. Follow all those other little gods. Pretend that you're following God when you're truly not. And that's what happens with a lot of Christianity. They say they're following God, but if you examine closely, they're following money, corporations, people. It's like in the time, with Samuel and Saul and David, where, Samuel tells the people that, look, if I pick a king for you, he is going to rule you. He's going to tax you. Why don't you just follow God? And the people didn't want that. And so God gave them what they wanted. Okay, I'm going to read this again. And Elijah came to all the people and said, how long will you falter between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal, follow him. But the people answered him not a word. Daddy, we thank you that these gentlemen have made a decision of I will, that they will use your masculinity your way, and that they will listen to your still small voice and overcome evil because they are fully aware that their masculinity needs to be directed by you. Because if they have $1 million in the bank and then just something happens, it sounds ludicrous, but it could happen. We live in a very wicked time where people are losing all of their rights. We thank you, Daddy, that just like in the time of Elijah, that you flipped the switch. You will do that again and do the opposite. And we start out with praising you. Let these gentlemen praise you today. Work in hearts mightily, producing a shift with signs and miracles and wonders which cannot be denied. Help them to rise up and offer comfort to women and children as being opposed to a source of destruction, turning to anger, isolation, and numbing behavior, even predatory behavior. As I was reading yesterday, they creep into houses, and these gullible women that they're loaded down with sins, they take advantage of them because women just want to be loved, and they will do it at the cost of anything unless they are governed spiritually. And help their communities navigate an evil revolution with a good one for such a time as this. In Jesus Christ's precious name.